Good morning. Welcome to Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace. Welcome to the soul of Sunday. We are Unitarian Universalists. Ours is a historic faith with a progressive theology. We affirm the worth and dignity of every being, and that we are all deeply interconnected. We are bound to one another not by creed, but by covenant. And we are called to answer the call of love with open minds, open hearts, and open hands. Whoever you are, those of all nations, all creeds, all colors, all kinds of love, you are welcome here. As we gather, we acknowledge that Arlington Street Church occupies the ancestral homeland of the Massachusetts. By making this land acknowledgement, we recognize, honor, and affirm the sovereignty of all First Nations peoples.
The years of the spring and days of the moon, mornings at 7, the Chalice sides to part. The years at the spring and days at the moon, the larks on the wing, the snails on the farm. God in his hand, God in his hand, all is right, all's right with the world.
Hannah, now we're awake. Dear ones, welcome. Welcome to our Zoomers, and welcome to the congregation gathered in person. I want to say a very special welcome to Rachel's nephew, Scott. Scotty, where are you? He's hiding, yeah. Scott grew up here. He left to go away to school. He left as a little boy. He's back as a man. Scott, it's just amazing to see you, and we're thrilled you've come home, sweetheart. Welcome home. Today's pulpit flowers were given by Fran Peterson in loving memory of her wife, Michelle Buteau, in honor of Michelle's 68th birthday. There's a beautiful dedication in your order of service. Thank you, Fran. We extend to you our deepest sympathy and all our love. Director of Music, Mark David Buckles, and the Arlington Street Church Choir are off today. Many thanks to our professional musicians, collaborative pianist Hyungjung Young, our jazz artist in residence, Joe Della Penna, soprano Hannah Shanefield, and Hannah's partner, Christopher Hernandez, on double bass. Welcome, friends. Thank you. And thank you to our volunteers, greeters, and ushers, the tech team, the worship teams, Marie O'Brien, zooming in from Chicago, and the live chat coffee hour team. Joining me in the high pulpit as we begin with a covenant renewal update is Reverend Beth.
Good morning, friends. I want to say a big thank you to each of you who has made your pledge for the upcoming church year. We are so grateful that you are all in for Arlington Street. Pledges have continued to come in since Covenant Renewal Sunday, and we are now up to a grand total of $320,000 $651. Amazing.
Holy cow. Thank you to our most recent pledgers, including Dan Jaffe and Ann Carpenter,
Richard Babson,
Ken Lima and Mark Sacco,
Michelle Redeker and Sue Weta,
Peter Zaleski,
Roddy Emily,
Bradley Cohen and Wanda DeGalaxy,
Alan Helms,
and Carl Segelum. Thank you, friends.
If you haven't made your pledge yet, there is still time. There's a link to the online pledge form in the order of service, in the chat, and on the homepage at ascboston.org. Thank you so much for your generous support.
Great. Awesome. Some fabulous items are coming in from you for both the silent and live auctions at our Sparkly Spring Gala on May 4th. I want to say thanks to Patrick Cooleybeck, who is donating an Ancestry.com test kit and his services in researching your family's genealogy. My sister did this for our family, and we gained some fabulous cousins. I highly recommend it. If you have something you'd like to donate to the auction or you'd like to volunteer to be part of the gala team, we'd love your company. Please speak with me. Friends, the sanctuary is mask optional. Please find your comfort level. Masks are always available from the ushers. For those of you who are new to Arlington Street, I want to say a very special welcome to you. If you're here in person, there are welcome cards in the pew racks. Please hand yours to an usher or drop it in the basket at the great doors as you leave. If you are in the Zoom room, welcome friends, please fill out a connection card. The link is in the chat. It includes the option to request the link to a recording of today's sermon. Since we can't greet all of you in person after the service, Reverend Beth and I would love to follow up with a virtual hello. Whether you've been coming here for years or today is your first time at Arlington Street, welcome home.
Good morning, my friends. I'm Marie O'Brien, a member of the worship team, and I greet you this morning from the land of the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi peoples, also known as Chicago. If you're in the sanctuary, there are printed copies of the order of service available from the ushers at the great doors. If you're zooming in, the order of service will appear in the chat, or you can download it on the homepage at ascboston.org. As we begin our greetings today, I invite the Zoomers and those in the sanctuary with a device handy to please say hello in the chat and tell us where you're zooming in from. And now, Michael is going to turn the camera on the in-person congregation as they wave and smile at each other, as well as at those in the Zoom room. We can all wave and smile back. Hello, friends. And hello, Kim and Beth. Let's all engage that Arlington Street spirit of welcome that transcends physical distance as we greet one another, heart to heart.
Our opening hymn this morning is hymn 40, The Morning Hangs a Signal. I invite you to rise in body and spirit and sing along with us. a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
It is now time for our treasured ritual of sharing community candles of sorrow and joy. I'm Art Nava, a member of the worship team and today's candles coordinator. These candles were submitted on our website by the Friday evening deadline. If you didn't submit your candle and have a joy or sorrow to share this morning, please wait until the third candle is lit, the silent candle, and then type your joy or sorrow in the chat. Zoomers are invited to light silent candles at home. Those in the sanctuary are invited to light a silent candle at the table up front to the right of the Gleason podium. In addition to sharing our joys and sorrows this morning, let's reach out to one another in the week ahead, staying connected. May these times remind us of how very precious this beloved community is. We need one another. Whether together or apart, may we stay very close. And now, in the spirit of invocation, let's join in singing Sanctuary. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Some of us come today with heavy hearts. We open our hearts to you.
A candle of sorrow from Barbara Seidel and Dan Simpson Seidel. A candle of healing for our extended family member, Lisa Miller, who was visiting her daughter when she experienced severe chest pain. Lisa was rushed to the ER, diagnosed with congestive heart failure, and identified as a candidate for a heart replacement. We're grateful to the medical team that saved her life and ask you to please send love and light to our beloved Lisa Miller as she navigates this sudden and unforeseen turn in her life's journey. From Bruce Johnston, a candle of hope for a friend and his family who on their journey back to Reykjavik from northern Iceland found themselves amidst challenging blizzard conditions. Facing winds that promised to relent only with the coming day, they spent the night sheltered within their car. Prayers for their safety through the storm. Candle of sorrow from Reverend Ali Jablonski. A candle of sorrow and concern from Arlington Street as we respond to another horrific act of terror, this time at Crocus City Hall, a music venue outside of Moscow, where over 130 people were killed and even more injured. As a congregation that loves music, may this place so far away be made closer as we remember these were people gathering to watch a sold-out concert. May all those who died rest in peace, and may all of us near and far commit to not resting until the killing stops and until love overpowers hate. Candle of concern from the Arlington Street congregation. We light a candle of love for Hala Hazar and her father, welcoming him home from the hospital. As he begins a new treatment, we surround them both with our heartfelt care and hope for restored health. From Harriet Huri Randvig, we light a candle of action for all the people affected by the conflict in Gaza, where reports tell of 30,000 lives lost and 75,000 wounded, many of whom were women and children. The scale of need surpasses anything encountered by emergency and post-war recovery organizations to date. Let us, with our hands, hearts, and tangible support, commit to making a difference. May our collective efforts urge those in power towards a ceasefire and ensure that the promise of recovery and peace becomes a reality, not just a distant hope. And a final candle of sorrow this morning from the Arlington Street congregation. For peace in Haiti, may we extend extra care to our Haitian neighbors, colleagues, and friends during this time of violence and fear.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
And some of us come today in joy. We share your joy.
From the Arlington Street community, earlier this month, the United Way announced a coordinated effort with the Unitarian Universalist Association and other community-based organizations to provide temporary emergency housing and support to approximately 25 families with children who have an urgent and immediate need for shelter in Boston. As UUA Executive Vice President Carrie McDonald explained, all children deserve a safe place to sleep. As a religious community headquartered in Boston, we consider it an act of faithful witness to use our facilities to do our part to support families in need, including migrant families who are simply seeking safety for their loved ones. May this act of hospitality provide hope in the face of the housing and immigration crises. And a final candle this morning. In solidarity, we light a candle for International Transgender Day of Visibility. We celebrate the courage and achievements of transgender and gender-expansive individuals and acknowledge the ongoing struggle against discrimination and violence.
Sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
For all the sorrows and all the joys we hold in our hearts, we light a silent candle to remember and to rejoice. May the peace of this sanctuary enter into our hearts as we share a quiet moment together, breathing our prayers for ourselves, for one another, and for the world. Amen.
Let's join now in saying together the affirmation and covenant of this beloved spiritual community. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak our truths in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de nuestra congregación, y el servicio es nuestro regalo. Esto es a lo que nos comprometemos, convivir en paz, hablar nuestras verdades con amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
Our next hymn is Life Calls Us On. You can find the music in a slip in the back of your hymnal. I invite you to rise in body, rise in spirit, and sing along. Here in reverence now we gather for the blessings we have known, with a pledge to one another that we journey not alone. Joy and sorrow make us wise, kin to all that lives and dies. Love calls us on. Love calls us on. Words and deeds of those before us waken here to keep us strong. Blend our voices in the chorus of creation's living song. Courage bids us lift our eyes upward to the shining skies. Hope calls us on. Hope calls us on. Loyal guides in love and duty, lead us with a trusted light. Blessed are they whose inward beauty shows the path of truth and right. Honor is their earthly prize. By their work we realize faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. We have shared a radiant hour when the truth has made us free, and the Spirit's gracious power dreamed of good that yet shall be. Bright the path before us lies. Joy
1. The biblical book of Esther, minus many important details, subplots, and hard to pronounce names. Chapter 1, the king of Persia throws a party. The king's wife refuses to appear and display her beauty for the party guests. She is replaced with a new queen. Chapter 2, Esther becomes the queen. Across the Persian Empire, beautiful candidates are identified to succeed the recalcitrant queen. Esther, a Jewish girl, is brought to the capital as one of the candidates. Her uncle Mordecai tells her to conceal her Jewish identity. Esther is chosen to be queen. Chapter 3, the rise of Haman. Haman is appointed by the king to be his prime minister. All bow in homage to Haman. Esther's uncle, Mordecai, refuses to bow to Haman. Enraged, Haman vows to kill all the Jews of Persia and prevails upon the king to issue a royal edict to exterminate the Jews and plunder their possessions. Chapter 4, Esther's mission becomes clear. Mordecai sends a copy of the royal decree to Esther and asks her to intercede with the king on behalf of the Jews. Esther replies that to approach the king without being summoned is to risk death. Mordecai speaks his famous line, "Who knows but that you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Chapters 5 through 7, Esther's strategy, Haman's demise. The king receives Esther and grants her virtually any request. Esther reveals her identity and announces that she and her people are about to be murdered. She identifies Haman as her arch enemy. Haman is hanged. Chapters 8 through 10, the happy ending. The Jews are victorious. Mordecai is named prime minister to replace Haman. Persia flourishes. 2 fun facts. 1, the book of Esther is considered the prototype for all novels. And 2, the name of God does not appear in it even once. It's the perfect Unitarian Universalist book. Purim, which began last night, is the festival commemorating this story, the saving of Jewish people living in ancient Persia, and one of the most joyous and fun holidays on the Jewish calendar. The 4 observances of the holiday are to read the book of Esther, give charity to at least 2 needy individuals, share the gift of food with at least 1 friend, and partake in a festive meal. And everyone wears a mask. In Hebrew, the name Esther is a play on words. It means revealing the hidden. Her story, full of magic and coincidence, invites us to imagine that although we might find it hard to believe that providence is at work in the mess and moral ambiguity of human history, when we stand up as agents of the divine, miracles might just happen. Who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Who knows but that we have come, you have come, I have come, we have come to this place at this very moment for such a time as this. A black limousine pulled up in front of Buckingham Palace. The chauffeur opened the door and a short, portly man emerged. Walking up the steps of the palace, the full impact of the moment struck him. It was one of the most chaotic times in human history. Neville Chamberlain has resigned as Prime Minister of England. The Third Reich is in power in Germany and Austria. Joseph Stalin is looking to President Roosevelt as the United States for help. War has broken out in many parts of the world, but the yet worst is yet to come. The whole world is on the brink of war. And there, on the steps of Buckingham Palace, Sir Winston Churchill knew that George King VI was about to ask him to become the Prime Minister of a new coalition government. Later, Churchill said that at that moment it was as though time had stopped, as though every person with whom he'd ever spoken, every class he'd ever taken, every book he'd read, every essay he'd ever written had all been preparing him for this decisive hour. In his memoirs, he wrote, "It seemed that I had come to this moment in history for such a time as this." Have you ever experienced that feeling of being the right person in the right place at the right time? What if we chose to believe that we are always the right person in the right place at the right time? Can we imagine that we too have come here to this moment in history for such a time as this? What would it look like if we chose to say yes? I think a lot about Rosa Parks. Although she had trained for it on that day more than 68 years ago now, she didn't set out to change the course of history. She just wanted, she said, to go home. But her decision to stay seated at the front of the bus ignited a boycott and energized a powerful movement for justice and freedom. Rosa Parks was the right person at the right time. Rosa Parks said yes. Mahatma Gandhi said, "We must be the change we wish to see in the world." I collect stories of everyday heroes, people who surface in the news one day and then return to the relative obscurity of their lives. What sets them apart for that moment of fame is their unqualified yes. And the quintessential story I carry is of a young man whose name I don't even know. He was driving a pickup truck down the Southeast Expressway when he saw a semi that was coming from the opposite direction swerve off the road and roll over. And that young man pulled off, jumped out, and sprinted across the highway, vaulting over the divider in the middle and dodging 8 lanes of traffic. Coming up to the semi, he could see the driver hanging upside down in the cab, suspended by his seatbelt. As the truck burst into flames, he kicked in the driver's window, released the seatbelt, and dragged the driver to safety as the semi burst into flames. "It was so hot," he said later, "my lighter exploded in my pocket." When asked why he had risked his life for a stranger, the young man appeared utterly baffled by the question. He answered, because I was there. He was there, the right person, at the right place, at the right time. And he said yes, for such a time as this. We are not all Rosa Parks or even he of the exploding lighter, but they passed their light to us. Whether it's just a tiny ember burning in our heart of hearts or a great conflagration of passion and devotion lighting up our life and the lives of all those whose lives we touch, is up to us. We can start small. Mother Teresa said there are no great acts, only small acts done with great love. Years ago, my friend Tricia was deeply involved in the Hunger Project, a global movement committed to the sustainable end of world hunger. She had a button pinned to her coat that said, "Ask me how we can end world hunger." And she gave much of her discretionary time to this life-saving calling. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at her day job, she climbed down into the subway to take the long ride home. She was too tired to talk to anyone about anything. She took off the "Ask Me" button, slipped it into her pocket, and began to slide into sleep. As her eyelids grew heavy, a sign above the seats across the aisle caught her eye. It was none other than Smokey the Bear with his famous two-word sermon, "Only You." Although she had heard it 100 times, in that moment, Tricia heard it for the first time. Sitting up, she retrieved the button from her pocket and pinned it back onto her coat. Ask me how we can stop world hunger. Only you, for such a time as this. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh said that he believed that the coming Messiah will not manifest as an individual, but rather as a community. Can we choose to believe that we are a part of something salvific and life-giving? Can we choose to live into that possibility? Our oldest daughter, Corey, is in Phuket, Thailand right now, which has brought me back to the soul-searing stories of the 2004 tsunami there. On the morning of Sunday, December 26, 2004, an earthquake shook the floor of the Indian Ocean so violently that it altered the Earth's rotation. Towering waves traveling at 500 miles per hour crashed into the shorelines of 14 countries, claiming the lives of some 227,900 people, one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. Cam and I were out on the Cape for the holiday, staying with friends. I remember standing in front of the television, glued to the news, reeling from the sheer magnitude of it all, knowing that we had to do something. When Stephen Baudin, one of our irrepressible, indefatigable young adults, a student at Berklee College of Music, emailed me to say he wanted to do a benefit concert here at Arlington Street in 10 days. One of the best decisions I have ever made was to get out of the way. 10 days later, the publicity that had been generated filled this enormous sanctuary to capacity. 20 Greater Boston choral groups professionals, as well as a children's chorus, with a combined total membership of some 200 people, had been recruited to come together for this great cause. And at the 11th hour, a coloratura soprano flew in from the Met and sang the Ave Maria. In one evening, the luminous, soaring concert raised today's equivalent of nearly $22,000 for tsunami disaster relief. For the finale, all the musicians, singers, and instrumentalists learned Morton Lawrence's anointed choral piece, Lux Aeterna, and sang it for the grand finale. Lux Aeterna, eternal light. Beloved spiritual companions, what if we chose to believe that we are always the right person in the right place at the right time? Rosa sat, the lighter exploded, only you. To what will we say yes? To what will you, will I, will we say yes? What is your next small act? What is it that you will do with great love? Who knows, but that we have come for such a time as this. Amen.
I'm very happy that this is the second classical piece by a female composer that we've programmed on this penultimate Sunday of Women's History Month. This piece is by the fabulous French Baroque composer Elisabeth Jacquet de la Guerre. It's the final aria in the cantata Esther. Believe it or not, the cantata Esther tells the story of Esther. And in true epilogue style, the text relays the moral of the story, which you can find printed in your order of service.
Hannah and Christopher, thank you, or should I say merci beaucoup pour cette belle chanson. Arlington Street is entirely self-sustaining. It's up to us. And as you have heard this morning, our generosity continues to be astounding. Thank you for your commitment to our staff, our building, and our beloved spiritual community. Each Sunday, we share our collection plate with a partner in our mission of love, service, justice, and peace. This month's beneficiary is Standing Together, suggested by Pat Humphreys and Sandy O of Emma's Revolution. Standing Together is comprised of Jewish and Palestinian citizens of Israel who say, quote, "Our future here is shared. And in order to guarantee a life here for all of us, we must do it together. It's either both of us or neither of us," end quote. Let's support Standing Together's efforts for peace, a release of the October 7th hostages, and a ceasefire agreement. Thank you for your generosity. At my workplace, it's time for annual reviews, which got me thinking of a previous job where I supervised a bevy of museum educators. Over time, I got better at giving reviews and realized the importance of specificity, giving examples to illustrate the feedback, including and maybe especially when giving positive comments. Because telling someone they're doing a good job feels hollow without specific points to highlight, which show you have noticed and appreciated that person's efforts and successes. One time in a flurry of doing all of these reviews, I realized I enjoyed giving positive feedback to my colleagues and decided to give a friend review to my dear pal, Stephen. It was all positive, telling him in exuberant detail why he was and still is an excellent friend. This is probably 20 years ago, and I just realized he's due for another one. If you take a moment now to think about an Arlington Street friend or acquaintance whom you appreciate, what would you say to them? What specific trait do they have that lights you up, as Kim said in her sermon today? What inspires you to be a better person around them? And what about our beloved spiritual community in general? What about us brings you joy, comfort, connection, support? If I were to give ASC a performance review, I'd say that you, all of you collectively, remind me that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. You embody a diversity of experience and a singularity of love. You ask the important questions and model listening to all the interesting answers. I have the joy of being involved with ASC's anti-racism and multicultural efforts, originally with the Transformation Team for Racial Justice and currently through the Among Project, part of Beloved Conversations. We are a motley and beautiful group of striving anti-racists. Each meeting with the Among cohort, I learn how to listen with more empathy, how to pause and consider an idea from someone else's point of view, how to support each other on this vital journey towards beloved community, and to do so with joy and with faith. Please take a moment now to join me in giving to our beloved spiritual community and filling our virtual collection plate today. You can give online by scanning the QR code in the order of service, go to ascboston.org, text your gift or Venmo at Arlington Street. If you're Zooming, you can mail a check to the church. If you're in person, please use the envelopes in the pews, which can be handed to Reverend Kim, Reverend Beth, or to any of the ushers after the service. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Joe. That was lovely. There are weekly gatherings in the Zoom room for loving kindness meditation, poetry, yoga, and writing. If you like to sing, the Arlington Street Choir welcomes you to come rehearse in person on Thursday evenings. No experience necessary. This week, on Tuesday evening, Reverend Kim hosts Buddha's Belly Book Group and the Arlington Street Meditation Center. On Wednesday afternoon, Professor Alan Helms and Reverend Kim host the Wednesdays Literary Salon. Join them to read the poetry of Louise Glick. Every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, Reverend Kim and Reverend Beth host a tea party with a conversation prompt. This week's prompt is, who showed you a bigger world? For all these offerings, information and Zoom room links are at ascboston.org. To attend any Zoom gatherings, you don't have to be a member, you don't have to turn on your video or talk if you don't want to, and they're all free. Following today's service, everyone is welcome to join the virtual coffee hour. If you'd like to participate, and I hope to see you there, please answer yes to the breakout room invitation that will appear on your screen. For those in the sanctuary following the service, please gather in the Honeywell Chapel for a live chat coffee hour, right through the leather door to the right of the pulpit. Thanks to all of you who joined in today's service and to all those who made it possible. Remember, we're all in this together. I love you.
Our closing hymn this morning is hymn 1028, The Fire of Commitment. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat. I invite you to rise in body, rise in spirit, and sing along. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our
Before our benediction, I invite those of you in the Zoom room to please reach out your hands, touch the sides of your Hollywood Square. Those of you in the sanctuary to please raise your hands, palms out, and let us send loving kindness to your left and to your right, to the people on either side of you, the people on either side of them. Let us send out love into this beloved spiritual community and feel it coming back to you. Love is the spirit of this congregation. And now for our benediction, I invite you to put your hands over your heart in namaste. I bow to the divine in you. Who knows but that we have come here for such a time as this. Let us keep this faith, beloveds, and pass it on. The service begins when the service ends. Bless your hearts. I love you. Amen.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine.
Please visit ascboston.org for more information about this historic Unitarian Universalist congregation. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.